Folks, today we're going to be talking about the most problematic of fighting game characters, and those are the banned characters, the characters that you are simply not allowed to pick in a tournament or in a competitive multiplayer environment. I had seen this video by Stumblebee called Why It's Almost Impossible to Ban Fighting Game Characters, and I enjoyed the video quite a bit. I mean, that's really true, that it is really hard to ban fighting game characters. It happens very rarely. So that got me thinking, well, how many times has it happened? How many characters can I find that have been banned in tournament in their respective game over the years? So I really had to scour the internet and do a bunch of research to put together this list of 10 banned fighting game characters, whether it's simply because they were too overpowered, because they offered specific advantages that other characters didn't. For whatever reason, these characters were completely banned from tournament at certain points in time in their game's lifespan. So I hope you guys enjoy the list and find it entertaining. I would really appreciate it if you could hit the like button if you like this kind of content, and hit that sub button as well so that you don't miss all my uploads. It really helps me out. And leave a comment if there's a character you think I forgot or a character that you think deserved to be banned but never got banned. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I always read my comments, and I'll reply and heart some ones that I really like. So make sure to do that. But with all that out of the way, let's jump in and start at number 10 on our list of banned fighting game characters. All right, first up, we got to jump through some hoops to even pick this guy. We got to start at Ryu, and then we go to T-Hawk, and then we go to Gill, and then we go to Cammy, and then we go back to Ryu, and then we press start and all three punches, and then we get Akuma, okay? Akuma is the OG banned character from Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, aka Super Turbo. Yeah, this guy was just ridiculous. He wasn't really intended to be a played character. That's why they hid him behind a code, and you can really tell he was not balanced for multiplayer play. He's pretty much better than Ryu and Ken in basically every way. He can combo off of his Tatsumaki, his hurricane kick, and it's invincible, which is kind of crazy. He has two invincible reversals, his uppercut and his hurricane kick, which is kind of crazy. He has the flaming red fireball that he can do with a half circle forward, and that is going to go through other fireballs because it's multiple hits. His heavy punch fireball always knocks down, which is pretty ridiculous. He's really good at keeping the opponent out and rushing them down. His combo damage is pretty much untouchable. He just does insane damage out of nowhere using his combos. He also has a really good teleport. It goes completely full screen and it's super fast, you know, just in case you're having trouble getting in on the opponent, but you probably shouldn't be having any problems with this character. And then finally, his air fireball is maybe the most broken thing about him. The game was really not balanced around an air fireball. A lot of characters have anti-fireball tools like Zangief's Lariat and stuff like that, but they just don't work against air fireball. It's so hard to get in on him, and the recovery is so low that he can just follow behind this fireball from anywhere on screen. He just throws the air fireball, walks up behind it, and he can get a full combo. So that's really over the top, really crazy. This character has been banned basically for the entire tournament life cycle of Super Turbo. Now, you may recall there was a rebalanced version of this game released in 2008 called HD Remix, and the developer's intent was to balance Akuma a little bit, still make him feel strong, but just make him fair and comparable to the rest of the cast. And I would say they didn't really accomplish their goal. Pretty quickly, Akuma did get banned in HD Remix. Players like Damdai, he kind of made it his mission to go into tournaments and show why this character needs to be banned. They also gave him access to his super in HDR, and if you don't know, in the Street Fighter 2 games, you can be thrown out of the startup of your jump. In most Street Fighter games, as soon as you tap up, you're invincible to throws, but in the Street Fighter 2 series, even if you're holding up, you can get hit by throws, which includes Raging Demon. It counts as a throw, so he can do inescapable Raging Demon setups. Yet another reason why he had to be banned in HD Remix. So, yeah, definitely one of the most broken characters in Street Fighter history, and it completely makes sense why this guy is not legal in basically any tournament ever. Next up at number 9, we've got Pet Shop from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This guy is like a flying bird ice zoner, rushdown, hybrid. First of all, because he flies, he's immune to a lot of attacks. He just kind of floats over them. So a lot of matchups are like impossible against this guy just because a lot of your moves don't work at all. He's got pretty good projectiles. His full screen control is pretty powerful. He's even got homing projectiles that will track the opponent wherever they go. Pretty hard to get in on. Pet Shop can also do insane damage. He can do really, really ridiculous links and combos, and he can even link his supers together to do ridiculous damage at the end of his combos. But the real thing that caps this off and makes this character completely busted is this move here where the icicle falls. So this icicle is going to hit overhead, meaning you have to block it standing. But Pet Shop can just go low at the same time, and you're put in an unblockable because, of course, there's no way you can block high and low at the same time. So Pet Shop has the best unblockables in the game. He can unblockable you basically whenever he wants. He can loop unblockables, unblockable into full combo, unblockable into super. Complete nonsense with this guy. So yeah, this game is still played, if you can believe it. There are online tournaments and stuff like that for this game. But generally, in all of them, Pet Shop is not going to be a legal pick. This bird is not the word. Don't pick him, guys. He's broken. Next up at number 8, we got another sort of secret character. You're not supposed to pick this guy, which is perhaps a reason why they made him so broken. It's Ivan Ooze. There's actually a really good video that goes into details for why this character is so insane. I'll go ahead and link that for you. But generally, this guy's pretty crazy. Just like Pet Shop, he flies around, so that gives him some advantages. Can fly over some stuff. There's lots of combos that don't work on him because of the way he flies. He's got ridiculous projectiles, really, really hard to get in on him. But by far, the most problematic thing about this guy has got to be this move right here, okay? Let's talk about some of the things that this move does. Obviously, it's homing projectiles, follows the opponent wherever they go. It's invincible, so you're just gonna go through the opponent's attacks when you use this. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that you can use this during hit stuns? So if you're being hit by the opponent, you're being comboed, you can use this move. It doesn't matter. You'll just instantly become invincible and throw out these projectiles. So honestly, if an Ivan Ooze player just spams this move over and over, there's pretty much no possible way to beat them. So of course this guy has to be banned. I actually had wondered, like, does anyone actually play this game in tournament? It was kind of hard to find details, but it turns out yes. The same community that runs tournaments for Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, the new Power Rangers fighting game, they've also run a couple tournaments for this game, the classic Super Nintendo/Genesis one. And I thought that was pretty fun that people are still playing this in 2021. I'll link those down in the description as well if you want to see what some high-level play in this game looks like. But trust me, Ivan Ooze is banned in those tournaments, so you're not going to see this guy. He is ridiculously broken. One of the most broken fighting game characters of all time. Next up at number 7, we've got Meta Knight. Now, I am not a good Smash player. In fact, far from it. But even I am aware of the sort of menace that Meta Knight was in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I guess they let this guy rock for a couple years, and then eventually he just started getting banned in everything. His mobility is crazy. He has so many double jumps. He has ridiculous normals. He has a 2-frame up air? 2-frame startup? That's ridiculous. He's really good at edge guarding the opponent with his down air as well. His recovery and his stalling are insane as well. He can just like chill under the stage. He can navigate from one side of the stage from the other and be completely unhittable. He can just get the stock lead and just run away, and you're gonna have to chase him down for like 8 minutes. So, and if you go to a tier list for this game, you're always gonna see Meta Knight is just head and shoulders above the rest of the cast. He's really operating on his own level where he can't be touched. So I think it makes sense that, you know, after a little while of playing the game, people realize, okay, we're gonna have to do something, and they banned Meta Knight from competitive play. So they've released other Smash games since Brawl, obviously, and Meta Knight has been a lot more balanced in those. So thankfully, we don't have to deal with this menace anymore. Next up, we're going to talk about Soulcalibur 2. So those of you who grew up in the early 2000s, like me, you guys might remember that Soulcalibur 2, it had 3 versions with 3 specific to their respective console characters. So GameCube owners got Link, PS2 owners got Heihachi, Xbox owners got Spawn for whatever. Spawn's not really like a Microsoft character, but I guess they didn't have that much to choose from. And then Necrid as well was a console exclusive character across all 3 consoles. He was not on the arcade version. So at the time, obviously arcades were a lot more popular. People were actually playing tournaments on the arcade version of games, and thus it had been decided that basically these characters were offering an unfair advantage. It wouldn't make sense if you go to a tournament and randomly they're running it on PS2, but you have a GameCube at home, so you've never practiced against Heihachi. That's a situation that people really wanted to avoid. So all 3 of these characters were banned, plus Necrid was banned as well because he was not playable in the arcade version, and some tournaments were run on arcade. So I've heard some people theorize that they think Link is overpowered and that's why he's banned, but that's actually not true. Link is generally considered bottom tier in Soulcalibur 2. He's got kind of a lot of issues, doesn't do that much damage. His attacks are very linear, vulnerable to sidestepping, which is one of the main elements of Soulcalibur. Is there's a lot of horizontal movement and 8-way run and sidestep. So yeah, despite having projectiles, which may seem like kind of a unique feature for Link to have, he is still not good despite that. And actually nowadays, there are tournaments run for this game using the Dolphin emulator, which emulates the GameCube version, and Link is actually legal in those. So he's not banned in every tournament now. Things have come around in the online tournament era. But back in the day when this game was current, all of the console characters were banned. Speaking of console exclusive characters, would you believe this happened again in the Soulcalibur series? Soulcalibur 4, they brought us Yoda and Darth Vader. Yoda was exclusive to Xbox 360 and Darth Vader was exclusive to the PS3. So again, these characters had to be banned in tournament because it's just unfair if you go to a tournament and either your main is not playable because of the console they have there, or if you have to fight this character that you've never seen before because they're exclusive to a console that you don't have. That's a little bit unfair too. They don't want tournament competitors to be forced to buy 2 consoles, so I think it makes sense to ban them. But they did make these characters purchasable on both platforms later down the line. You could get them both. So they were actually unbanned. This is another sort of rumor I see a lot, is that Yoda was banned because he's too small, because you can't hit him, but that is not true. Yoda was unbanned for a period of time in Soulcalibur 4 after he became available on both platforms. But there's another character in this game who was banned for the entire life cycle of the game after a certain point. And that character is going to be Hilde. So Hilde was allowed to rock for a little bit in Soulcalibur 4, but she was pretty quickly identified as being a problematic character. The main reason is what you saw right there. She has what's called the Doom combo, which is a combo where she's pretty much going to ring you out from anywhere on screen. So it turns out that having access to like easy one-touch kills is a little bit ridiculous in Soulcalibur, where no one else really has that. She has some other good things as well. She's very safe. She's got very long reach thanks to the fact that she uses a polearm. So generally, it's a pretty broken character, and before too long, she did get banned in most tournaments. I think there are some that allowed her to rock, but for the most part, she is not a legal character because of the massive potential for ring outs and her just general strength in all other aspects as well. Next up, we've got another boss character who wasn't really balanced around multiplayer play. It's going to be Gill from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. So this is another character who wasn't originally playable, but when the game was ported to home consoles, they decided to let fans go nuts and play Gill. So Gill is very, very broken. He's got a similar moveset to Urien, but Urien, his moves are charge moves. He has to hold back or down for a couple seconds before he can use them, but Gill does not have that restriction, so he can just throw out very powerful moves whenever he wants. He's got a very cool gimmick where as he switches sides, the side that faces the camera determines the element of his moves. So he can do ice attacks when he's facing one way, and they transform into fire attacks when he faces the other way, which I think is a really, really cool mechanic. But unfortunately, it's attached to a character who you're really not allowed to play in tournament because he is just so broken. So his normals, his combos, his specials not requiring charge, such huge advantages for the character. Also, his supers are totally busted as well. Look at the damage on this. Does that look fair? Does that look fair to you guys? And here's another super as well. Check this one out. Yeah, pretty decent damage on that, and it's not possible to parry that super either. But the craziest thing about this character, you work so hard. You fight him, you struggle, you get him down to 0 HP, and if he dies with 1 meter, he just comes back and he gets an entire life bar back. So you basically have to kill him twice every round, assuming he's holding on to his meter to try to resurrect himself. So yeah, that definitely makes Gill over the top and a broken character who is not allowed in any formats whatsoever. So even though his gimmick is very cool, it's a little unfortunate. He did come back in Street Fighter V. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So they actually did get to make good on this very unique character design. But in his original game, Street Fighter 3, yeah, completely not legal, totally banned. Next up, we have a character from Guilty Gear XX Accent Core, and this is going to be Justice. So Justice is another sort of secret boss character who became playable with the release of the home console version, and Justice was pretty busted in this game. Massive normals, huge damage, hard to block, crazy combos, extremely mobile. She had a very fast air dash and ground dash, so she was really hard to keep out as well. Justice also had these little nuke things, these little slow-moving bombs that would move slowly across the screen and do massive damage on hit. So definitely a hard character to deal with. The combination of extremely good rushdown and extremely good keep away was a little too much for the game back then. But a little fun thing happened later when Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R was released. They actually rebalanced Justice, as well as the other sort of hidden console exclusive character, which was Cliff Anderson. They balanced these characters, they made them more fair. They removed Justice's air dash, so she just became a very slow, sort of clunky character, still with some huge damage and a really good keep away, but not as effective at rushdown. They actually gave her an install super, sort of a power-up activation super that gave her her air dashes back. But of course it costs meters, so that's a big downside, and when it runs out, when it ends, you are left vulnerable. So major downgrade to Justice, and all of a sudden she became a relatively balanced character, still strong but playable. Same for Cliff. You know, he's not the best character at Accent Core Plus R, but he's playable, so they allowed these formerly banned characters to be legal in this new version of the game. So pretty cool stuff there, in my opinion. All right, we finally made it to the end of the list here, and this is kind of a... Listen, the character is not banned, but the costume is. I told you that we would come back to Gill. They released this costume for Gill, where he dresses like Pyron from Darkstalkers. And it turns out this costume is just stupid. You can't tell what's going on. I really cannot see what this character's doing with all these hazy effects and stuff on screen. And also a similar problem happened with Blanca's story costume, his sort of mascot costume. His proportions are just weird. It's hard to tell what he's doing. He's strangely undetailed. So they did end up banning these costumes for competitive play just for being too hard to look at, too distracting, and too sort of hiding the details of their characters' moves. This actually was not the first time a character had to be banned just in one specific costume. Another Blanca costume, this one from Street Fighter 4, got banned because this sort of carnival decoration was too big, too distracting, and hard to look at, and it made it hard to tell what attacks he was doing. And then in Tekken 7, they had to ban a couple of preset customizations just because they were a little too weird, a little too different, and it was too hard to tell what the character was doing on the opponent's side. So they banned these ones for Jack as well. So yeah, pretty funny to me that not only can a character be banned because they're too strong, they can also just be banned because the costume is too ugly. So I'm a big fan of that. But tell me, were you a fan of this video? Did you like hearing about the banned characters? And again, let me know down in the comments, were there any big ones that didn't make the list, or any characters that you think probably should have been banned for one reason or another? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, so hit me with those down in the comments. I'll definitely be reading them once this video comes out. And as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.